즉 몸 자세를 바르게 하고 머리를 바르게 세우고 두정 허리를 수직으로 요직해서 세웠을 때 그래놓고 유경 안이비설 신의의 작용이 색성형 미촉법을 일으키기도 하고 받아들이기도 하는데 그러한 육근과 육진과 육식의 작용을 삼사화합이라고 하는데 이것을 안으로 돌이켜서 들어가려면은 밖의 정보에 의해서 움직여지는 그런 시계 작용을 닫아라 창문을 닫듯이 이 유경 불행이다 아니불자 행하나요 불행이다. 그랬을 때 흐름이 내 안으로 돌이켜 들어오는데 그걸 반유라고 하는 거죠. 류, 흐를 유자. 전일하게 하라. 모든 생각의 흐름과 그리고 내 몸의 흐름을 하나로 모아 들어가라. 그 하나는 심신이 여의해지는 자리고 그 마음법이 귀일되는 자리인데 그 귀일처를 끊임없이 찾는 의도를 놓치지 않고 매 행, 매 념, 염념이 상속이 돼서 일념과 일념이 일행 속에서 이루어질 때 우리는 그 일기당초를 스스로 자각하게 되고 그 스스로의 자각이 바로 깨달음으로 깨어남으로 직접 연결되는 그런 일이기도 하다는 거죠. 그래서 지금 하는 그 무드라의 동작도 사실은 그런 의미를 담고 있는 것입니다. 그 안에 각각의 제스처에 수많은 의미를 갖다 붙이지만 결국은 하나의 당처를 찾는 그 일이기도 한 것이죠.
The heart of the Prajna Paramita Sutra. The Bodhisattva Avalokitesvara, while moving in deep course of perfect understanding, shed light on the 5 skandhas and found them equally empty. After this penetration, he overcame all pain. Listen, Shariputra. Form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Form does not differ from emptiness. Emptiness does not differ from form. The same is true with the feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. Here, Shariputra, all dharmas are marked with emptiness. They are neither produced nor destroyed, neither defiled nor immaculate, neither increasing nor decreasing. Therefore, in emptiness there is neither form, nor feeling, nor perception, nor mental formations, nor consciousness, no eye, or ear, or nose, or tongue, or body, or mind. No form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no object of mind. No realms of elements, from eyes to mind consciousness, no interdependent origins, and no extinction of them, from ignorance to old age and death. No suffering, no origination of suffering, no extinction of suffering, no path, no understanding, no attainment. Because there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas, supported by the perfection of understanding, find no obstacles for their minds. Having no obstacles, they overcome fear, liberating themselves forever from illusion and realizing perfect nirvana. Our Buddhas in the past, present, and future, thanks to this perfect understanding, arrive at full, right, and universal enlightenment. Therefore, one should know that perfect understanding is a great mantra, is the highest mantra, is the unequaled mantra, the destroyer of all suffering, the incorruptible truth. A mantra of Prajnaparamita should therefore be proclaimed. This is the mantra. Gate gate paragate, parasangate bodhisvaha. Interbeing. If you are a poet, you will see clearly that there is a cloud floating in the sheet of paper. In this sheet of paper. Without a cloud, there will be no rain. Without rain, the trees cannot grow. And without trees, we cannot make paper. The cloud is essential for the paper to exist. If the cloud is not there, not here, the sheet of paper cannot be here either. So we can say that the cloud and the paper are. Interbeing is a word that is not in the dictionary yet, but if we combine the prefix inter with the verb to be, we have a new verb, interbe. Without a cloud, we cannot have paper. So we can say that the cloud and the sheet of paper are. If we look into this sheet of paper even more deeply, we can see the sunshine in it. If the sunshine is not there, the forest cannot grow. In fact, nothing can grow. Even it cannot grow without sunshine. And so, we know that the sunshine is also in this sheet of paper. The paper and the sunshine are. And if we continue to look, we can see the logger who cut the tree and brought it to the mill to be transformed into paper. And we see the wheat. We know that the logger cannot exist without his daily bread. And therefore the wheat that became his bread is also in this sheet of paper. And the logger's father and mother are in it too. When we look in this way, we see that without all of these things, this sheet of paper cannot exist. Looking even more deeply, we can see we are in it too. This is not difficult to see because when we look at the sheet of paper is part of our perception. Your mind is in here and mine is also. So we can say that everything is in here with this sheet of paper. You cannot point out one thing that is not here. Time, space, the earth, the rain, the minerals in the soil, the sunshine, the cloud, the river, the heat. Everything coexists with this sheet of paper. That is why I think the word interbe should be in the dictionary. To be is to interbe. You cannot just be by yourself alone. You have to interbe with every other thing. This sheet of paper is because everything else is. Suppose we try to return one of the elements to its source. Suppose we return the sunshine to the sun. Do you think that this sheet of paper would be possible? No, without sunshine nothing can be. And if we return the logger to his mother, then we have no sheet of paper either. The fact is that this sheet of paper is made up only of non-paper elements. And if we return these non-paper elements to their sources, then there can be no paper at all. Without non-paper element like mind, logger, sunshine, and so on, there will be no paper. As thin as this sheet of paper is, it contains everything in the universe. everything in the universe in it. But the Heart Sutra seems to say the opposite. Avalokitesvara tells us that things are empty. Let us look more closely. Empty of what? The Bodhisattva Avalokitesvara, while moving in the deep course of perfect understanding, shed light on the five skandhas and found them equally empty. Bodhi means being awake, and Sattva means a living being. So Bodhisattva means an awakened being. All of us are sometimes Bodhisattvas and sometimes not. Avalokita is the name of the Bodhisattva in this sutra. Avalokita is just a shorter sattva in this shorter version of Avalokitesvara. The heart of the Prajna Paramita Sutra is a wonderful gift to us from Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva. In Chinese, Vietnamese, Korean, and Japanese, we translate his name as Guan Yin, Guan Chuan An, or Kannon, which means the one who listens and hears the cries of the world in order to come and help. In the East, many Buddhists pray to him or invoke his name. Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva gives us the gift of non-fear because he himself has transcended fear. Sometimes Avalokitesvara is a man and sometimes a woman. Perfect understanding is Prajna Paramita. The word wisdom is usually used to translate prajna, but I think that wisdom is somehow not able to convey the meaning. Understanding is like water flowing in a stream. Wisdom and knowledge are solid and can block our understanding. In Buddhism, knowledge is regarded as an obstacle for understanding. If we take something to be the truth, we may cling to it so much that even if the truth comes and knocks at our door, we won't want to let it in. We have to be able to transcend our previous knowledge the way we climb up a ladder. If we are on the fifth rung and think that we are very high, there is no hope for us to step up to the sixth. We must learn to transcend our own views. Understanding, like water, can flow, can penetrate. Views, knowledge, and even wisdom are solid and can block the way of understanding. According to Avalokitesvara, this sheet of paper is empty. But according to our analysis, it is full of everything. There seems to be a contradiction between our observation and his. Avalokita found the five skandhas empty. But empty of what? The key word is empty. To be empty is to be empty of something. If I am holding a cup of water and I ask you, is this cup empty? You will say, no, it is full of water. But if I pour out the water and ask you again, you may say, yes, it is empty. But empty of what? Empty means empty of something. The cup cannot be empty of something. The cup cannot be empty of nothing. Empty doesn't mean anything unless you know empty of what. My cup is empty of water, but it is not empty of air. To be empty is to be empty of something. This is quite a discovery. When Avalokita says that the five skandhas are equally empty, to help him be precise, we must ask, Mr. Avalokita, empty of what? The five skandhas, which may be translated into English as five hips or five aggregates, are the five elements that comprise a human being. These five elements flow like a river in every one of us. In fact, these are really five rivers flowing together in us. The river of form, which means our body, the river of feelings, the river of perceptions, the river of mental formations, and the river of consciousness. They are always flowing in us. So according to Avalokita, when he looked deeply into the nature of these five rivers, he saw that all five are empty. And if we ask empty of what, he has to answer. And this is what he said. They are empty of separate self. That means none of these five rivers can exist by itself alone. Each of the five rivers has to be made by the other four. They have to coexist. They have to interbe with the others. In our body we have lungs, heart, kidneys, stomach, and blood. None of these can exist independently. They can only coexist with the others. Your lungs and your blood are two things, but neither can exist separately. The lungs take in air and enrich the blood, and in turn the blood nourishes the lungs. Without the blood, the lungs cannot be alive, and without the lungs, the blood cannot be cleansed. Lungs and blood inter. The same is true with kidneys and blood, kidneys and stomach, lungs and heart, blood and heart, and so on. When Avalokita says that our sheet of paper is empty, it means it is empty of separate, independent existence. It cannot just be by itself. It has to interbe with the sunshine, the cloud, the forest, the logger, the mind, and everything else. It is empty of separate self. But empty of a separate self means full of everything. So it means that our observation and that of Avalokita do not contradict each other. Avalokita looked deeply into five skandhas of form, feeling, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. And he discovered that none of them can be by itself alone. Each can only interbe with all the others. So he tells us that form is empty of a separate self, but it is full of everything in the cosmos. The same is true with the feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. The way of understanding. After this penetration, he overcame all pain. Penetration means to enter something, not just to stand outside of it. When we want to understand something, we cannot just stand outside and observe it. We have to enter deeply into it and be one with it in order to really understand. If we want to understand a person, we have to feel their feelings, suffer their sufferings, and enjoy their joy. Penetration is an excellent word. The word comprehend is made up of the Latin roots cum, which means together in mind, and prehendere, which means to grasp it or pick it up. To comprehend something means to pick it up and be one with it. There is no other way to understand something. If we only look at the sheet of paper as an observer standing outside, we cannot understand it completely. We have to penetrate it. We have to be a cloud, be the sunshine, and be the logger. If we can enter it and be everything that is in it, our understanding of the sheet of paper will be perfect. There is an Indian story about a grain of salt that wanted to know just how salty the ocean was. So we jumped in and became one with the water of the ocean. In this way, the grain of salt gained perfect understanding. We are concerned with peace and we want to understand the Soviet Union, so we cannot just stand outside and observe. We have to be one with a Russian citizen in order to understand his feelings, perceptions, and mental formation. We have to be one with him or her in order to really understand. This is Buddhist meditation, to penetrate, to be one with, in order to really understand. Any meaningful work for peace must follow the principle of non-duality, the principle of penetration. In the Sutra on the Four Foundations of Mindfulness, the Buddha recommended that we observe in a penetrating way. We say we should contemplate the body in the body, the feelings in the feelings, the mental formations in the mental formations. Why did he use this kind of repetition? Because you have to enter in order to be one with what you want to observe and understand, and to understand. Nuclear science are beginning to say this also. When you enter the world of elementary particles, you have to become a participant in order to understand something. You can no longer stand and remain just an observer. Today, many scientists prefer the word participant to the word observer. In our effort to understand each other, we should do the same. A husband and wife who wish to understand each other have to be in the skin of their partners in order to feel. Otherwise, they cannot really understand. In the light of Buddhist meditation, love is possible without understanding. We cannot love someone if you don't understand him or her. If you don't understand and you love, that is not love. Avalokita's meditation was a deep penetration into the five skandhas. Seeing deeply into the rivers of form, feelings, perception, mental formations, and consciousness, he discovered the empty nature of all of them. And suddenly, he overcame all pain. All of us who would like to arrive at that kind of emancipation will have to look deeply in order to penetrate the true nature of emptiness. Long live emptiness. Listen, Sariputra. Form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Form does not differ from emptiness, emptiness does not differ from form. The same is true with the feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. Form is the wave, and emptiness is the water. You can understand through that image. The Indians present perception in a way that can confuse us. But we have to understand their way of expression in order to really understand them. In the West, when we draw a circle, we consider it to be zero, nothing. But in India, a circle means totality, wholeness. The meaning is opposite. So form is emptiness, emptiness is form. It is like wave is water, water is wave. Form does not differ from emptiness, emptiness does not differ from form. The same is true with feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. Because these five contain each other. Because one exists, everything exists. In the Vietnamese literature, there are two lines of poetry made by a Zen master of the Lee dynasty, 12th century, he said. If it exists, then one speck of dust exists. If it doesn't exist, then the whole cosmos doesn't. It means that the notions of existence and non-existence are just created by our minds. He also said that the entire cosmos can be put on the tip of a hair, and the sun and the moon can be seen in a mustard seed. These are images that show us that one contains everything, and everything is just one. You know that modern science has perceived the truth that not only matter and energy are one, but matter and space are also one. Not only matter and space are one, but matter, space, and mind are one, because mind is a matter and space. Because mind is in matter and space. Because form is emptiness, form is possible. In form, we find everything else: feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. Emptiness means empty of separate self. It is full of everything, full of life. The word emptiness should not scare us. It is a wonderful word. To be empty does not mean non-existent. If the sheet of paper is not empty, how could the sunshine, the lager, and the forest come into it? How could it be a sheet of paper? The cup, in order to be empty, has to be there. Form, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness, in order to be empty of separate self, have to be there. Emptiness is a ground of everything. Thanks to emptiness, everything is possible. That is a declaration made by Nagarjuna, the Buddhist philosopher of 2nd century. Emptiness is quite an optimistic concept. If I am not empty, I cannot be here. And if you are not empty, you cannot be there. Because you are there, I can be here. This is a true meaning of emptiness. Form does not have a separate existence. Avalokita wants us to understand this point. If we are not empty, we become a block of matter. We cannot breathe. We cannot think. To be empty means to be alive, to breathe in and to breathe out. We cannot be alive if we are not empty. Emptiness is impermanence. It is change. We should not complain about impermanence, because without impermanence, nothing is possible. A Buddhist who came to see me from Great Britain complained that life was empty and impermanent. He had been a Buddhist for 5 years and had thought about emptiness and impermanence a great deal. He told me that one day his 14-year-old daughter told him, "Daddy, please don't complain about impermanence. Without impermanence, how can I grow up?" Of course, she was right. When you have a kernel of corn and you entrust it to the soil, you hope that it will become a tall corn plant. If there is no impermanence, the kernel of corn will remain a kernel of corn forever, and you will never have an ear of corn to eat. Impermanence is crucial to the life of everything. Instead of complaining about impermanence, we might say, Long live impermanence. Thanks to impermanence, everything is possible. That is a very optimistic note. And it is the same with emptiness. Emptiness is important because without emptiness, nothing is possible. So we should say also, long live emptiness. Emptiness is basis of everything. Thanks to emptiness, life itself is possible. All the five skandhas follow the same principle.